James Bell of the Boxing Source here with the video, and this one here is to talk about the back and forth that has happened over the past 24 hours between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. This has been the whole little Twitter war that has gone on ever since the whole back and forth about the status of Errol Spence Jr. since his car accident that happened last year after he scored the win over Sean Porter to unify the WBC and IBF welterweight titles. A lot of talk has been about when he would return to the ring. We've had, one particular person on the Boxing Source radio show say that Errol Spence might not make it back to the ring until 2021. But we have seen that Errol Spence has talked about the potential fight between him and Terence Crawford, the WBO welterweight champion, and they had been going back and forth, particularly what Terence Crawford has said in reference to the things that Errol Spence was talking about in reference to why that fight really hasn't been properly made. Um, and Errol Spence, made a comment in reference to what Bob Arum said about Spence not making it back to the ring, and then also that all the people that keep talking about him and Terence Crawford fighting each other, and that people keep posting that Terence Crawford wants all the smoke and everything like that. And Errol Spence had been, making a couple of responses, and one of the things that he did post is this thing right here where he talks about y'all could believe all the stuff that's happening, around boxing circles or whatever, but I don't duck nothing, man. How he says it, yo, come on, man. I don't duck nothing, man. So I don't know what y'all talking about, man. It's basically Errol Spence Jr. right now. So the thing about it is that you had a follow up response to that by a Twitter user, and Errol Spence replied to that and says, "Yo, I mean it goes both ways, and that whether a fighter wants to have a fight against the potential opponent, like here with Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, someone basically said, well, make the fight. And Errol Spence is saying, well, hey, it goes both ways as far as like the parties are concerned. Like, if they really want the fight, then they will do what it takes in order to make the fight. And that there wouldn't be any type of blocks that would happen in reference to that. But as a follow up, Terence Crawford yesterday had put up a statement on Twitter saying that he had issues as far as like what was basically said, as far as like the back and forth is concerned with him and Errol Spence Jr. And he said, like, at first he said, keep defending them because I'm going to tell y'all now, and I mean what I say, when that day come, when I basically knock him out, all I want y'all to do is keep that same energy because he going to cry in the car. He wasn't built for this shit I got over here. Just watch me show the world. And that's basically Terence Crawford. He don't necessarily back down from nobody, as far as he's concerned, or as far as like what he's saying. And we've seen that when both Terence Crawford and Errol Spence were face to face with each other on two separate occasions. So that's basically what Terence Crawford is showing here. And then, as a follow up, he says, and stop using the fucking promoters, managers, and advisors for that weak ass excuse y'all doing. They work for us. Y'all dumb If y'all really want to fight, you tell them. I don't give two, and that's who I want to fight. Let your nuts drop. You say you your own boss, Errol Spence, and that was just basically a rant. He's like, yo, don't say you can use the promoters or a manager or an advisor as the reason why the fight's not made. He's basically saying, yo, they work for you. So if you want to fight, they're supposed to get that fight done for you. And so he's basically saying that, hey, if you really want that fight, then they should be able to come to you or come to me and do what needs to be done in order to make the fight. Uh, and that's pretty much what has had boxing Twitter, so to speak, going off a little bit over the past 24 hours. But it's still all cool between those two guys. I mean that you had Errol Spence retweet the whole thing about Terence Crawford saying that Errol Spence is a cool dude on some real shit, and we both agree that the fight will happen. So it's basically a matter of time before the fight actually happens. We all know that it is the biggest fight that can be made in the welterweight division. But as of right now, we have to figure out what the status is of Errol Spence. He did basically say when he does come back that he will have a tune-up fight. So that fight will happen first before we see Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. in the ring against each other. But we both, or they both know that with this being the biggest fight that can be made in the welterweight division, they want to see if they're going to be able to have this fight, for basically the, maybe the undisputed welterweight championship later on down the line, or um, whether it's for the Ring Magazine welterweight championship. Either way, it's still going to be the biggest fight in the welterweight division, and depending on what happens during the year that that fight happens, it's going to be the biggest fight of the year. So that's the thing on that. We'll see what happens between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford coming up here in the year 2020. Be sure to follow us here on the Boxing Source on YouTube. You could also follow us on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. You could also go to theboxingsource.net website, theboxingsource.net. And on that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.